Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's session. Um, I believe that everyone had a good day today, and you are ready for today's session. As Afolabi will be taking us on a journey to understand how IoT devices apply to cloud security. How logs apply to cloud security. All right, everyone. I want to see your excitement in the comment section. If you're excited to be a part of today's session, I want to see your emojis, your responses, your comments in the comment section. Let's go. Let's have your comments. Let's have your emojis, your best emojis within the next 2 to 3 minutes as we expect other participants. So, everyone, I want to see your comments. You're welcome, Igwebe Onyedikachuku Samson. I'm sorry, I hope I didn't murder your name. I'm really sorry about that. You're welcome. I want to see more responses in the comment section. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to today's session. I'm so excited for today's session because, logs is something I always like to go to for any form of information I need or whatever I'm doing. And I'm so excited to see how that applies to security. Okay, you're welcome, Mayowa. Mayowa, why are you crying already? What's going on? You're welcome. You're welcome, Edmond Godwin. Happy to see you here. We're going to be starting in a few minutes' time, and I want to see everyone's comments. I want to see your comment as you're joining. Okay, let's bring in the comments. You're welcome, Abdurazak. You're welcome. You're welcome. We're all excited to have you today. We're all excited to have you today. You're welcome, everyone. Okay, our facilitator is very much ready to dish out information to us today. And I joined yesterday's event and I really enjoyed it. And I saw how the quiz went. So let's hope that today's quiz is going to go as expected. And then all questions will bring up the right answers. Yeah, you're welcome, Ejiro Gene says thank you. You're welcome. Kennedy says I. Yes, hello, Kennedy. You're welcome. And we'll begin in the next 1 minute. So while I'm going to read out our facilitators introduction. I want you to keep commenting in the comment section. I want to see your comments. I want to see how excited you are to be a part of today's session. So when it's 6:06, yes, it's time. All right. Today, everyone, we're going to be learning about audits, monitor and analyze logs and metrics to detect issues. So we're going to see how logs apply to detecting security issues in the cloud, and this has to do with AWS. So we're going to be learning about another AWS service and how we can use it to detect security issues. And today, yes, excited to be here. Gabriel says is excited to be here. Yes, I'm excited to be in today's session also. And today we are going to be having a seasoned DevOps engineer. Oh my God, you don't know who? You guys just go to LinkedIn. Go to LinkedIn to see who it is. Yeah, HRA is looking forward to the quiz session. All right, I'm super excited to you guys should just Google Afolabi Omotoso and see his profile on LinkedIn. He said I should not hype him, but I just have to say some things. He's a DevOps engineer and with a proven track record of aligning technology and operational strategies with organizational business objectives and driving organizational success. He has so much experience in cloud infrastructures like IaaS, PS, and cloud models, and then monitoring and observability. Yes, he enjoys doing continuous integration and continuous delivery, security and automation. So that is one reason why he's the best suited person for today's topic. And he loves to work. He loves to work around disaster recovery strategies and network implementation. And he's very much passionate about delivering quality service and value to businesses through adopting approaches to analyzing issues and looking at best solutions that fit organizational requirements. So today I want us to welcome Afolabi Omotoso as he mount the podium now. And let me see your excitement and your welcome. I want to see your emojis to welcome Afolabi today and how excited you are to learn from Afolabi today. Okay. Welcome, Bemisola. I'm also excited. You're not excited for the session. You are waiting for the quiz, okay? All right. I want to see your emojis as Afolabi comes up in the next 1 minute. Okay. Afolabi, you have the podium now. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to your session.
Thank you very much. I'm actually so happy to be here. Thank you, Deborah. Um, Please don't mind all the hypes. I'm just a normal cloud engineer. I've worked with AWS a lot actually, but I'm just a normal cloud engineer. So, and I'm so glad to be here as well. So today I'll be talking about audit, monitor, and analyze logs and metrics to detect issues in AWS. So basically, how we can actually audit and monitor our logs and metrics just to know if there are issues. So basically, to handle the things related to security in AWS, the type of tools that can be used, and even the process that we can actually follow to achieve this. So before I delve into logs and metrics, are we, I don't know, I would actually like to talk about um, the essence of logs and the essence of the whole thing about logs. So before I can even talk about logs and metrics, there's actually something that I can call a kind of father to logs and metric. So before we can even think about logs, what brings about the concept of logs or metrics? So basically, it's all about the terms that is called observability. So observability is like the father that gives birth to. So pardon me for using those words. I'm just trying to make it as simple as possible. So it's like the father that gives birth to logs and metrics. It actually gives birth to four children, which are logs, metric, traces, and events. So this is a term that is very used in site reliability engineering SREs, especially when you're talking about SLOs, SLAs, and the likes. So we talk about how we can actually manage. So generally, we in a general term, everything is actually called logs. Generally, for in whole terms, but they actually distributed and divided into different sections. So an observability is like the general overall father. So, the simple definition I gave observability is just a concept in software and system engineering that focus on the ability to provide insight into the internal state and behavior of our systems. So basically, how our application is working and how it is right now, how it was yesterday, and it can be tomorrow. So it gives us an idea of where we are yesterday, and an idea of where we are today, and an idea of where we can be tomorrow. So that is where the insight comes in. So checking the laws, we can know, are we doing well or are we not doing well? It can give us an idea of, are we better than where we are yesterday? And it can give us an insight of what we can do better tomorrow, what we can do to make our application infrastructures or our services to be better tomorrow. So it is very important in everything. So it is essential for understanding and improving performance, improving reliability, knowing the behavior of systems, like complex systems, a lot of complex systems. And the four main pillar, like I mentioned earlier, is logs, metrics, traces, and events. We, I think we can have some maybe little sub pillars, but these four are the most important ones. So I would like to go into logs. I would like to give logs. So what exactly is log? So basically, log is just like the word, just like the word sounds like, is log. So like, let me use a simple time. Let's say your computer system is not working well, it's freezing and it's taking time. You can actually check your computer system and check the logs of what is happening. Maybe something is eating up the memory or eating up the space and you don't have enough space. That gives you an insight to what you can do, maybe by cleaning up those spaces and free your system so that it can perform better. So that is how logs work. And it can go into complex system too, like um I'm looking for a simple as a simple example. A complex system, like maybe you you do a transaction, you do a transaction and maybe from bank A to bank B on an application, maybe on a fintech app, and your money got stuck somewhere. So every transaction that actually happens, log of that is being kept somewhere. So when you go back to the maybe the customer, you call the customer care to check what is wrong. We actually look into some logs somewhere to see the activity of what actually happened. So by that, they will be able to trace the issues and fix it for you. So those are just the traditional ones. It is the same thing for our resources, our workload in AWS as well. So logs they can be structured and they can be unstructured records of events and action that actually occur within our systems. So this time around, we're talking about AWS, our workloads in AWS. It give us the records of events and action that actually occur, and in most cases, it always have things like information like the timestamp when that thing happened, the event description, what exactly happened, and maybe some other associated data. And why do we think it is actually important? It is actually important because it provides us the records of what exactly happened. It gives us the insights of what we are doing. Either we are doing right or we are doing wrong. Let's assume we are doing something and we are getting error. You can actually look into the log to see where the error is coming from. And if it is a warning, you can actually look into that warning too to see the warning and what you can do to make it better. And if you are doing good as well, it's the same. You can look into the log to see that. So it gives us an insight, a way of um, debugging, checking for security analysis, and even compliance as well. Especially, it's very important for compliance also. So, and in use cases for logs are for troubleshooting our issues, for responding to incidents, for checking our performance, for checking the performance of our workloads, for investigating security issues, and for compliance as well. So those are the use cases for logs. We can have more. I just try to give us some summary about it. Can we go to the next slide, please? Then metrics. In most cases, we actually put them to, we think is actually the same thing, but in most cases they are not. They are not even in most cases. Logs and metrics are different. They are not the same. So logs is important, but metrics give us, so metrics actually rely on logs to work in a kind of way. So metrics give us the quantitative data points that represent the various aspects of our system performance and behavior. Maybe I should have said system and application performance and behavior, such like our CPU workloads in AWS, our memory usages, request latency, network, transferring network out, and even other things like maybe how our resources, like for example, like Kafka, MSK in AWS, how it is working. You can actually use metrics to do that. And you can even use metrics to check error rates of issues. And also we can use it to it gives us this overview of how we are performing. So logs generate logs of everything that happens, but metrics give us the way of actually looking at how we are performing. So why is metrics also important? So metrics actually provide a real-time insight. So it gives us a real-time insight of our workload, about the health of our workload, for example, our CPU or every other resources that we have. It gives us the health, the performance of those systems, and it helps us to actually identify things like issues, bottlenecks, the trends. So, like I mentioned earlier, how we are performing, and it let us to know if we are actually doing better today than yesterday. And it gives us an idea of if we are going to do better tomorrow than today. So it is a way of proactively monitoring our workloads. And also another thing that we can do with that is we can actually create alert. It gives us ways of creating alerting. So you don't need to maybe keep an eye on the dashboard forever. You can actually set some alerts, and in the comfort of our home, we can get maybe messages if something goes wrong. So the use cases for metrics is, like I mentioned, is things like monitoring our performances, things like capacity planning, detecting anomalies, alerts, and optimizing our resources. So I don't know. Let me try if I can go into deep dive a little bit into this for the use cases for metrics. So let's say we have a lot of CPUs. Let's say we have some clusters, Kubernetes clusters, for example, in AWS, and we want to make sure that we have a resilient infrastructure that is running. We want to make sure that all our infrastructure is always available. And at the same time, we don't want to overbuild. We don't want to build more than what we need because we want to save cost. We can decide that, okay, let's stick to maybe 20 gigabytes of CPU, for example, and whenever this gets 20 gigabytes of CPU, and we can also specify that, okay, set some logs that whenever this gets to this CPU is actually getting filled up, we can specify some logs. We can specify some metrics on those CPUs. Let's say when the CPU usage gets to like 70% of that 20 gigabytes, it should trigger something with an alert or something. So those are the ways where you can actually use metrics to actually make sure that all our resources are stable. And also this goes into security as well, like in anomaly detection. So let's assume that we on a normal day, our resources doesn't get beyond 50%. We can set up logs to actually make sure that whenever it gets to 70%, in cases of maybe some type of DDoS, like distributed denial of services or distributed attacks, comes into our systems, metrics we get this and trigger something like alerts, or we can see it on the dashboard. So those are the use cases of how metrics and logs work together. It is very important in observability. It is even one of the key metrics that is key important pillars for us. Can we go to the next slide, please? So, having said that, I would like to talk about the roles that these things actually plays in security. So what I mentioned before is all about the overview, the general use cases. But when it comes to security, logs and metrics, what are the roles that they actually play? What is their functions? So the first thing that I put here is an audit trail. So log actually serve as a detailed audit trail of actions and events within our cloud environment. It keeps track of everything that we do with our workload, that happens with our workload. They record who did what, where that thing happened, and when, because it has timestamps. It allows us to investigate security incidents. Like, let's say, for example, in a team, somebody goes to AWS cloud and deleted the resource, and we asked that who deleted this, and everybody was saying no, it's not me, it wasn't me, I'm not the one. You don't need to argue for that. We can actually go to check our logs to see who deleted that and things like that. So it actually helps us to go deeply to audit our all our resources, check the trails and everything that is actually affiliated with that. Another one is incident detection and response. So it gives us the information needed to detect and respond to security incidents. Uh, Logs and metrics are very important with this. It helps us to check anomalies, things that are not supposed to be. It helps us to know unauthorized access, who should not have access but have access to some. resources or some applications or some workloads, and it helps us to actually understand suspicious activities also that can be identified. So analyzing our logs alone can actually help us with this. And with this, we can take swift actions to mitigate all these threats. Those are part of the roles that logs and metrics play. And we can use that for forensic analysis as well, security breach, um, checking security breach, and also we use it to check users and resources activities monitoring. So having said all this, is actually related to logs and metrics, not really related to a particular tool in AWS. What I'm trying to say is, whenever the word logs is mentioned in AWS or metrics is mentioned, the first thing that comes to mind is CloudWatch. The first thing that comes to mind is CloudWatch. But what I put together here does not only use CloudWatch. There are still other resources that can be used to achieve all this in AWS Cloud. Next. And also for the InfoSec guys, I used to call them our police. I used to call those guys our CIA because they always ask me so many questions. So the for this information security team is very good for compliance and reporting. Um, for example, let's say for organizations that handle things like PCI DSS, they call it I can't remember, payment card industry. The payment card industry companies like the fintechs, banks, and the likes, they there are some compliance that they have to meet before they can run some workloads in cloud. Things like I think things like PCI DSS, ISO 27001. So they have to be compliant with those things. So getting reports on those compliance, because the infrastructure workload that has to be built with those compliance in place. So our logs and metrics are what we use to know if we are still in compliance with that. We can set up a lot of alerts, a lot of metrics, and even a lot of dashboards just to keep track of our compliance status. So these guys, logs and metrics are very essential for this with industry standards, just to make sure that all these industry standards are met. It is very important. And it helps us, metric help us to assess the overall security postures that we have, because it gives us the ability to monitor everything from end to end. We can set up end-to-end monitoring. It gives us the ability to effectively put up some security controls in place. For example, let's say um, the concept of least privilege, whenever we have to give access to people or applications using things like either I am roles, groups, and the likes, uh, we can still see all those things in logs and metrics. Who have this access, who is using this, and which access is using this, at which particular time this access was used. Things like that can actually be monitored with our metrics and logs. And we can even set up alerts if things have gone beyond level. So this can undo things like third party, maybe hackers, people that want to bombard us with things like DOS, DDoS, distributed denials of service, like making sure our infrastructures are not responding to the normal resources, the normal calls that they should respond to. And it gives us the ability to do real-time monitoring. So those are the roles that these guys plays in making sure our services and workload in AWS are running as expected. Other things that we just glance through is things like utilization of our resources, how it is being managed. Can you go to the next slide, please? Um, how our resources are being utilized. Are we underutilizing our resources, or we are over utilizing our resources? things like that can be handled by monitorings and logs. Things like behavioral analysis of our workloads, applications, and infrastructures. We can actually um, check the behavioral analysis of that by analyzing our historical metrics. You can identify unusual patterns or behaviors that could be a kind of security threat. And also activity monitoring, user activity monitoring using tools like CloudTree and the likes, so we can actually see which user does what at what time. So these are good ways where we can check and analyze and use logs and metrics just to make our workload to be very better than before. The next is next slide. So I said together, logs and metrics play a critical role in the proactive and reactive aspects of cloud security. It actually plays a very critical role for organizations to be very proactive and very reactive when it comes to managing security. They help organizations in the following ways. They help in early detections. Logs and metrics allow for early detections of security incidents, enabling a faster response to threats. And that is why, like mentioned earlier, it is always good when you have logs, you set up the metrics, then you can set up alerts. So even you don't need to, because we can't, everybody can't spend the whole day in front of computer, but you can get alerts for things that are not um, that are not in the way they should be. So early detection of these things, logs and metrics help us with that, and it gives us the visibility into the entire workload that we have in the cloud. So I said it provides the ability into the entire cloud environment, MP security team to understand what exactly is happening and why that thing is happening. And I think I mentioned this earlier, they help with compliance a lot. They actually help with compliance a lot. Help us to manage our compliance workload, all the compliance rules that we've set, and stick within that compliance, not going out of it, and helps with optimization of all our resources. We don't want to spend more than what we have. We don't want to spend more than what we want to spend, and we don't want to overuse resources. So let's assume that we want to build an application workload in AWS for a specific number of people. Uh, we do not need to build infrastructure that the whole world can use. So we can actually build what is necessary for the specific number of people. So this we might not know the specific number of people that we want, but with logs and metrics, it gives us the insight of what we have and how we can actually maybe scale up, scale down, and build something that is resilient. And also, because of the insight that we have, it gives us the ability to actually continuously improve. So, like I said before, logs and metrics show us where we are yesterday, where we are today, and it will give us the insight of where we are going to be tomorrow. So, with what we have yesterday and where we are now, we can plan and build something based on the insight that we have for tomorrow. So that is continuous improvement. Over time, logs and metric can be used to refine security policies, to refine controls, and making the cloud environment, to be more resilient than before to threats. So those are very important for us. Next, I said monitoring and analyzing logs and metrics in AWS is crucial. Can we go to the next slide? Is crucial for detecting and resolving issues. Is very crucial for improving security and ensuring the smooth operation of our AWS resources. So overall, AWS offers several services and tools to help with our logs, our monitoring and analyzing of our logs and metrics, and it helps us. The services that AWS offers actually vary, but I think the most popular one is CloudWatch. Everybody uses that. Everybody does. CloudWatch, everybody does. So it depends on what exactly we want to do that will determine the kind of resource that we want to use to handle logs and metrics for the workloads. So the most popular one is CloudWatch. Then we have CloudTrail. We have CloudTrail that actually monitor the activity. So CloudWatch handles metric. It handles something that we call log groups. You can create log groups in CloudWatch and pull your logs there, like a kind of centralized logging system where you can have all the logs in a central way and you can use it for various reasons. Then we can have CloudTrail that actually handles activity log. It's basically for activity logs in AWS. Um, who logs into the AWS, who touch the particular applications, okay, and who did this, who does that. So things like that. CloudTrail handles that. Then we have other resources like AWS config. This handles things around inventory compliance, like infrastructures. So we can set up things to actually handle, to check if our infrastructures are actually compliant with what we want. So those are other resources that we can use as well. So I put in some guides on how to audit, monitor, and analyze logs to detect issues in AWS. But before I continue, I don't know if there are any questions. You can drop your questions in the chats. I want to be sure I'm not talking to myself. Questions, keep your questions coming in. Okay. If you are paying attention, can you say hello? Great. Any questions or question? Okay. Okay, good. So I just mentioned some of the tools, so let's continue. So the first thing that I think is very important is cloud training to be enabled. Before I go to CloudWatch, which is even I think the most important one, but cloud training is to be enabled. So I put 2 points here for CloudTrail. So CloudTrail records all API calls made on your AWS account. So the literal word that I always give it is activity monitor. It's just activity monitor. Handles everything that it keeps logs of everything that happens on your AWS account. So it provides a comprehensive audit trail of actions taken on your resources. To get started, you can enable CloudTrail in the AWS Management Console, and you can configure it to send logs to maybe like Amazon S3 bucket, and you can analyze your logs from there. The most important one is CloudWatch. So CloudWatch is a kind of centralized logging system in AWS. So you use CloudWatch logs to centralize log data from various AWS services and your own application. This makes it easier to analyze and set up things like alarm, dashboard. You can create log groups and you can even create log streams for different type of logs. You can use it for APM, application monitoring, application logs, infrastructure logs, and the likes. You can set up metrics there as well. There are some inbuilt metrics for AWS workloads. basically mostly for infrastructure like things on EC2. There are a lot of metrics there for EC2, and you can even set up your own custom metrics as well. You can build dashboards. You can even, it can do almost everything. Okay, question? I heard we have one question. Basically, it is not free, but I think it is very cheap. It's as little as free, almost free. So it's per number of API calls that you have, and any other resources that is actually being used with that also um, can be charged. But it's as s- almost free, almost free. So let me see, it's almost free because you hardly notice that you are being charged, but it is not free. Almost. Any question? Any other question again? Okay, great. So I'm still on CloudWatch. So CloudWatch is an important part for logging in AWS. Is an important part. One of the most important tool in CloudWatch is setting up log groups. You can set up various log groups, and you can plug in your application workload into those log groups. Let's say you have some resources, you have your EKS, you can set up log groups for your EKS, and it will be pushing logs to the log groups for the EKS. You can set up some log groups for MSK, Kafka to be pushing logs to for anything that happens in the Kafka side. You can set up logs for even your Fargate. You can set up several logs, and you can decide to set up just one log groups to be pushing those. The good thing about it is that it keeps timestamps. It's yeah, the CloudWatch service itself, but the it's not really it's not a service on its own. It uses a lot of things, so other things that are actually attached to it are not free. But using setting it up is free, but every other things are not free, and every API calls that is being made on CloudWatch is not free, I think. So yeah, the last time I checked, it is. So for the logs, log group is actually a great thing. Like I mentioned, you can plug it into your different resources, keep track, check for errors, warnings, info, how you are doing, where you are, and how you can become better. And the good thing about CloudWatch is that you can even plug it to third party. I've used it a lot with Grafana dashboards. You can build your dashboard in Grafana and use CloudWatch as data source. You can build nice dashboards, beautiful dashboards. You can build a lot of, you can see how you are doing with those things. So don't get it wrong that CloudWatch also has its own, you can build your dashboard in CloudWatch as well. I'm just talking that I'm just what I'm trying to say is that it supports other third-party tool as well. So you can build dashboard, you can analyze all your data, you can check how you are doing. It has a lot of resources, a lot, and is very great. I think as long as you are using the OBS, CloudWatch is important. Yeah, there are so other services. I'm going there. So can we go to the next slide? So I think I've actually mentioned most of this. So for login, actually, CloudWatch and CloudTrail is the most important, but there are still other services. So in CloudWatch, for example, in CloudWatch, we have a resource before it is the resource before was called CloudWatch Event. Excuse me, but right now it has moved to Event Bridge. So is it handles Okay, what's this question for the API calls? Is it that when you want to audit a service, let's say EC2 usage, you use CloudTrail to check for that? I just want to understand how the API calls work. Okay, so basically API calls that I mean in this concept is everything that is being done on your AWS service. So CloudTrail is basically an activity monitor. That is basically what it does. It handles activity monitoring, but every time it does that, it's actually doing some API calls in the background. But I can let me confirm about the price, but is so like what I'm seeing here is if you are a new customer, cloud so CloudTree is like for 30 days is free. You have access to all the features for 30 days. Depends on the size of data you are using. You can up to 5 gigabytes of data, you can ingest up to that. You can scan about 5 gigabytes of data for free at no additional cost. But after that, you are being charged. So you can check pricing calculator to actually know how much is being charged for any of the resources that you can check. You want to check, you can go to AWS calculator, AWS calculator. Yeah. So, but it's almost as free. It's almost as free because is a tool I use a lot, and we don't really see any anomalies with our billings. We don't see extra charges, and we use it a lot compared to when you use other resources in cloud like storage, or especially storage. So it's almost like you are not spending anything. So also we have a tool that was integrated into CloudWatch before called CloudWatch Events. Now they've rebranded it to Event Bridge. So Event Bridge is it triggers. What it does is to undo triggering of things like it's trigger based on some metrics. So it does something that is similar to how Lambda function works, but it's not the same. It's been triggered. It's been set up to trigger based on some metrics or some events, and it can trigger to do a lot of things. It can trigger to, let's say, there are some you set up your metrics for some anomalies that whenever this happens in my security, do this. That is exactly how it works. So let's say whenever my resources spike get higher to this, then trigger CloudWatch events to send an SNS topic to maybe an SNS topic somewhere to trigger email or SMS to somebody just to alert that person. So it's called Event Bridge. So it's part of the CloudWatch resource as well that you can use. And you can also do things like setting up your log retention policies. So you can define log retention policies in CloudWatch logs to automatically expire. This is just to make sure that you don't want to keep logs of the last 5 years in your resources because you are going to pay for that. It's actually filling up spaces. And the major thing that consume money in AWS is things that are related to storage. So you don't want to keep spending money on storage. So you might want to configure things like log retention policies. And also you can set up some custom metrics as well to apart from the inbuilt metrics that we have in AWS CloudWatch, you can set up your custom metrics based on what you want to do. And I mentioned this earlier also is another resource, AWS config, is good when it comes to compliance for our infrastructure compliance, inventory compliance. So Let me give an example what I'm trying to say about this. Let's say you have a lot of Linux machines in your system, and you want to make sure that those Linux machines are running some particular version of Linux. They shouldn't run below or above that particular version of Linux. You can set up some rules in AWS config. They call it config rules. You can actually set up some rules, and whenever those guys are not meeting those rules, it will be marked as non-compliant. So AWS config actually helps to undo that. So it helps to handle that as well, to manage compliance. And it works alongside with CloudWatch. So in the AWS cloud, you don't really see CloudWatch working with this AWS config directly, but in the background, it actually uses CloudWatch as well to keep track of those resources. So every track of those resources is being managed by. So let's say you have thousands of Linux machines and one of them is not running. Let's say you set it up to run CentOS 7.8, for example, and there's a resource that is using maybe Fedora, Red Hat, or Ubuntu, it will flag it as non-compliant. So those are the things that AWS config can do as well. It uses CloudWatch in the background, but you don't see it in the console. So I say AWS config provide a detailed inventory of your AWS resources, including configuration history. Enable AWS config to capture and store resource configuration changes over time. You can decide that, okay, I want to make sure that SSM is running on all my EC2 instances. You can use config to undo that for you. You might want to say they shouldn't use, okay, you might want to say they shouldn't do, um, you might want to say maybe all the resources should maybe the database should use AWS secret, things like that, that secret manager should be used for all your databases. So if the databases are not using this secret manager, AWS config will flag them as non-compliant. So those are things that you can use to actually manage your security in AWS. And the good thing, you can always analyze your logs. You can always analyze your logs to check for insights, to check metrics. You can use CloudWatch Logs Insights. You can use Metric Explorer to explore your metric and analyze where we are now. Good question. What is the difference between CloudTray and CloudWatch? Yeah, very good question. So CloudTray is basically an activity monitor. That is what it does. It only monitor the activities of everything in AWS. Um, it just keep track of all your activity. Also, like immediately you log into your AWS console, it has registered it that, okay, my name is Afolabi now. So immediately Afolabi Omotoso logs into the console, it has registered it in the cloud tray that Afolabi Omotoso logs in at 6:51 p.m. So any other thing that I'm doing, it will keep track of that. And even if I'm not doing it in the console, let's assume I'm doing that with CLI on my Visual Studio Code or whatever, but I logged in with secret with my keys and access key and everything. It keeps track of that as well. So those are the API calls. It keeps track of that. Even if we are using tools to build our infrastructure, like let's say we are using CloudFormation or Terraform to build our infrastructure, there's a user that is actually doing that thing. It keeps track of that. So basically, that is what CloudTray does. CloudTray monitor the activities of everything in AWS. But CloudWatch is a central logging system. It keeps it centralizes the logging. So logging this time around, not basically the activity of whatever is happening in the AWS. Let's say let's say your EC2 instances, you are running some application workloads on the inside that EC2 instances. Let's say you have some Nginx that is running on that EC2 instances. You can actually be sending the logs of that Nginx to your log group. Let's say you have some application running on Kubernetes clusters, different pods, different nodes, different workloads inside the Kubernetes clusters, you can be sending those logs directly to CloudWatch. So CloudWatch is a centralized logging system. You can build your log groups to handle that. I'm not sure if I answered the question, Musti AKCOD. And at this point, I wish we have more time, but at this point, I would like to round up here. So, like I mentioned, the great tools are CloudWatch, CloudTray, AWS Config, um, Event Bridge for, but the biggest one is CloudWatch, CloudTray for the activity monitor. So, at this point, Deborah, I don't know if you have questions.
Okay.
Um,
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Afolabi. Thank you for all of these insights. I think we got about 4 or 5 questions, and let's go into the quiz session. At least we've been able to answer some questions. So if anyone still has any questions, please help us put it in the comment section, and we would respond to it either on our channels, or if we're able to still respond to it in the presentation, we'll be able to respond to it. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening. So we're going to be going into the quiz session now. Uh, all those that were looking excited and being excited for the quiz session, I hope you are ready now with your attentiveness and, okay. All right. So we're going to go into the quiz session now, and we'll begin in the next 30 seconds. Okay. Okay. So kindly scan the code, or a link is going to be dropped in the chat. The link to the quiz session is going to be dropped in the chat now. Scan the code or click on the link to join the quiz session, because we'll be starting in no time. Okay, so I want to see players joining. Bemi, we're looking forward to the quiz session. I want to see you join. Who else is looking forward to the quiz session? Ehen, Ejiro again was also looking forward. I want to see you join. I want to see you participate in the quiz today. Yes, so kindly click on the link in the comment section to join the. You can copy the link and paste in your browser to join the session tonight. Samson, I see you there. You're welcome. Welcome, Samson. Samson is ready with his eyeglasses, so ready for today's session. Let's know who our winner for today will be. Okay, let's join in. Let's join in. Sams, you're welcome. Sams, you're welcome. We have 4 people who have joined already. Okay. All right, let's see you joining more. Let's see more people. G Oracle. I see you. You are here again. Mayor, you're welcome. Tao, you're welcome. Let's see your reactions. Thank you. Thank you for the reactions. I see you're ready to play. We're going to take at least 4 more players before we go ahead. Okay, let's wait for the other players. Olix, you're welcome. I see you. I know you're ready again for today's session. Welcome, Godwill. Welcome, 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 everyone. Okay, so in the next 2 minutes, we're going to start the quiz session now, so that we can keep to time. Okay, let's begin the quiz session now. I think we have about 7 people. All right. Question 1: what are the main pillars of observability. Choose all that apply. What are the main pillars of observability? For those that wrote it down, I think I took note of the slide here. So what are the main pillars of observability? Choose all that apply. All right, let's see those that have answered. People are excited in the comment section. I mean, in the reaction box. Thank you. I hope the question is not too tricky. Yes, I'm happy that people are excited. So that means a lot of people are confident to answer. Whoa. Okay, nobody chose the wrong answer. That's awesome. Logs, metrics, traces, and events. That's good. That shows that you're actually listening. All right, let's see the leaderboard. Let's see what the leaderboard is like. Oh, Tao is leading the session today. Awesome. Let's see how other questions will be like. So question 2, what are the 3 roles of logs and metrics in cloud security? What are the 3 roles of logs and metrics in cloud security? What are the 3 roles of logs and metrics in cloud? Let me see the reactions. People are busy thinking. Okay, everyone has answered. Let's see the answer now. Let's see the answer now. Tao is still leading the. Oh my God. Wow, I think we're having a bit of a. Okay. Okay, let's see the answer to question 2. All right, I think there's another opportunity to answer the questions again. So, what are the 3 logs of logs? What are the 3 roles of logs and metrics in cloud security? Let me see your excitement in the section. I want to see your emojis. Let's see if this question looks tough or not. Awesome.
Looks tough.
Awesome. The length, I think everyone really listened to today's session, and yes, I'm happy that we're confident about the answers. Okay. In a few seconds, we'll be seeing the answer. What are the 3 roles of logs and metrics in cloud security? Some people are crying. No, now. Okay, let's see our answer now. Uh, okay, 3 people chose scanning and it is wrong. I'm happy. A lot of people chose monitoring and compliance. That's awesome. So let's see the leaderboard now. I hope nobody has displayed style. Samson has this. Tao, where are you? I don't see you in the first 5. Why now? Why did they allow them kick you out? Why? Okay, Samson, you're welcome to the leader to the number 1 position in the leaderboard. Let's see if you keep this energy. Yeah, the question number 3. What are some ways to monitor and analyze logs and metrics to detect issues in AWS? Man, all these multiple answer questions. They're really interesting. What are some ways to monitor and analyze logs and metrics to detect issues in AWS? Mr. Afolabi, if you set question for AWS Solutions Architects, in fact, these questions are very interesting. Awesome.
Really?
Wow.
People are
That's good
getting
to
it.
know. Cloud Trail, I'm very happy that people actually listen. That's good.
Yeah.
Samson is still leading the board. Awesome. I see you there, Samson. I see you there, Samson. Question number 4. What are 2 use cases of logs? What are 2 use cases of logs? I think we should be able to get this. This sounds like a trivia question to me. What are 2 use cases of logs? Okay, let's see the answers now. Compliance reporting and troubleshooting. This is awesome. This is one of the best quizzes. Wow, this is awesome. Let's see who is still leading the board. Samson is still leading the board. I mean, this question's cheap. Ah, this is good. Okay, Samson, Sams, Olix, and Abdurrahman, I see there. Question number 5. So this one determines how fast you are. See question number 5 now.
Yeah, I think Deborah, maybe she has network issues.
Okay.
Okay.
Awesome. Okay, the answers are anomaly detection and capacity planning. Wow. I have a strong hope that Samson is still leading the board. Awesome. Samson, Sams, Olix, and Abdurrahman. That is awesome. And
Wow.
Samson, congratulations. Congratulations to winning the points. Okay, I thought Samson was leading the board. Wow. Sams, congratulations to you. Um, Thanks for participating in the quiz session today, and thanks for listening, everyone. I think the way the answers went really showed that people listened. And Samson would like you to send your details to the link that we pasted here. Send your details to AWS Cloud Sec West Africa at gmail.com, your LinkedIn profile, your email address, your phone number, and your Twitter handle to AWS Cloud Sec West Africa at gmail.com. Once again, congratulations, Sams. And thank you so much, Afolabi Omotoso. Thank you for dishing out all the information you gave to us today, and everyone really listened. That's to show that the session was actually very much engaging and interesting. Thank you so much for such a session, and I hope everyone is looking forward to the next session. But before that, um, one thing that stood out for me was the difference between logs and metrics, and then when logs are used for analyzing behaviors and troubleshooting issues, metrics are actually used to monitor performance and recognize or predict events. So I think that's one thing that we should have in mind, because sometimes we tend to mix up the both of them.
Yeah.
So yes, we are also going to be having an awesome session this Saturday. Reinforce this Saturday. It's going to be happening live on Saturday, and you can follow our social media channels using that link on the screen. Okay, we're going to have the link posted in the chat section now, so you can follow our social media channels to keep in touch and to also be reminded of all the other sessions we're having. So we're going to have Reinforce on Saturday, and then we'll be having another session like this next week Monday again. We'll continue a session like this also next week Monday. So to register for the okay, let's please post the link to register for Reinforce. Let's post the link to register for Reinforce in the chat session. It's going to be in chat session now. And I've come to the end of today's session. Thank you so much, everyone. And don't forget to follow our social media handles using the link on the screen. Don't forget to follow us and to like our events and keep in touch so that any event that comes up after now, you'll be aware of them and you'll be able to attend. Thank you so much, everyone, for attending today, and I hope you have a lovely evening. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.